So, we've already analyzed costs and benefits, but we haven't really talked about how these individual choices affect those around us and kind of the cost on people around us. Like how I keep making my teacher watch these videos. Sorry. Nobody thinks pollution is good for the environment. However, most people would agree that things that cause pollution, such as electricity and other factory-made products, are good. Nobody says that we should eliminate all pollution. In fact, even the strictest environmentalists admit that that would be an impossible task. However, as economists... someone's pulling out here. As economists, we need to determine what society's optimal pollution is, and then use some sort of control, ideally the market, but it could be governmental. We're going to get into all of that in this video, to correct what is effectively a market failure. Because while someone might be producing at what's an optimal level for them, there's still a way that we can make someone better off. So the market can be made more effective. Let's check out the externality graphs on the chalkboard.
So now we're going to be looking at the social cost graphs. So we're going to toss up our axes. We're going to have the cost or benefit on this side, and we're going to have the quantity on this side. Now there are three lines that we're going to be looking at. There's the market supply, the marginal social cost, and the marginal social benefit. And each of those is going to be talked about a little differently, and I'm going to get a little more in-depth a little later in the video. But you have 2 points where these lines are all intersecting, right? So I'm going to need you to see the optimal social point, which is where the social cost and the social benefit meet, or the social cost and the demand meet, depending on the graph. We're going to, again, get into that later. Then there's your... right there, your market equilibrium, which is where your supply meets your demand in the market, right? That's the amount of something that the market is going to produce. Now,
there are also private solutions to kind of correct these externalities. For example, the Coase theorem, which I'm going to pull over and read the exact definition for all of you. The Coase theorem believes that even in the presence of externalities, the economy can always reach the efficient solution as long as the transaction costs, or the costs to the individuals making the deal, are low, and the legal rights of the parties are clearly defined. The process of taking these external costs into account is called internalizing the externalities. Kind of a catchy little thing for you there. Something I really liked from the book, I'll be honest. Sometimes these transaction costs are too high for the individuals to step in. Or there can be other reasons too, right? You might have with the example that we're about to look at, with pollution, for example, right? You might have too many people that the company would have to pay because they're affected by pollution, right? You can't pay all of us, and everyone's suffering from the climate change or the other ill effects of pollution, right? So what happens there is that the government actually steps in and makes those corrections. You see them do this with cigarettes, pollution, I was going to say air defense. That gets more into public versus private goods, which is going to be another video. That's an exciting one, I'll be honest. That's kind of a catchy video. But anyways, we're going to be heading back to the chalkboard to kind of look at some of these more governmental controls.
Okay, now we're going to be looking at some of the government controls. So we're going to pull this up, and the thing I'm going to need you to remember, the triangle is going to be pointing to where the loss is, okay? So we're going to throw up our graph again. We're going to have our benefits to the individual on one side and the quantity on the other side. We're going to throw up our market supply and the marginal social benefit, which is, again, just our demand for this one, right? So you have that point right there, which is your market price. But what's going to happen is that in this case, we're looking, this is a negative externality, so something like pollution would be a good example for this, right? Well, the government is going to determine that, whoops, let's throw these back in, sorry. Well, the government is going to determine that the marginal social cost is there. Right? That's how much should be produced in order to create that socially optimal point that we discussed earlier in the video. So what they're going to do is they're going to look at this, what is the socially optimal price, and basically levy a tax or do something that's going to force the price to be at that level. It's going to allow people who are willing to pay the price to still produce their product or good, but it is going to reduce pollution for the overall market and the overall country. Now, since we're playing with the graph, we are suffering from a little bit of deadweight loss, which is, again, the triangle is pointing to where the loss is, right? Now, this is a negative externality. If you're looking at the positive externality, it's going to be the exact same, except that marginal social benefit curve, the blue line, or what is the demand curve in this one, is actually going to be the one switching, not the marginal social cost, and your triangle is going to be pointing the opposite way. Now, we are going to be throwing out this to, it is a network externality, things that derive value from a number of others who use the good as well. Think about social media, right? If you're the only person using social media, it doesn't have that much value to you because it's about communication. But if there are a lot of people using social media, it gains more value to you.
That's externalities for you. Really, the thing you're going to want to remember for the AP test, externalities are costs other people pay for your choice. See you guys next time.